The first W. Who do you want to sell to? The typical answer we get when we ask this question is anyone. Anyone with a pulse and the ability to pay. But do you really want to sell to anyone? Consider this example. How much would you pay for a car wash? Would it be £5? That's a fairly typical price, a price you could pay pretty much down all the high streets in the UK. But what if it was a very special occasion? Would you pay £20? Would you pay £40? What if it was your daughter's wedding or something like that? Would you pay £80 or £100? How about £3,395? That's right, prices from £3,395. But consider this, if you have just bought a Bugatti Veyron at 1.2 million or some other exotic car, you're hardly likely to run it through the local car wash, are you? Consider what Gertrude Schulte, who runs this company, has done. He has decided that the person who he wants to do business with owns a high-end car and, more importantly, is willing to pay a significant sum of money every month to keep that car looking perfect. The important point here is that it is you who decides who your customer is. You get to choose your customer. And you can choose any sort of customers you want. You can choose affluent customers who are easy to deal with. You can choose affluent customers who are hard to deal with. You can choose poor customers who are easy to deal with. You can choose poor customers who are hard to deal with. The point is, you get to choose. So what sort of customer are you choosing? What sort of business are they in? What sort of person are they? Where are they? Where do they hang out? What do they do outside of work? What makes them tick? The more you know about your who, the easier it is for you to connect with them. Okay, so we talked about who you want to sell to. Now let's think about what are you going to tell them. The first purpose of your message is to interrupt your prospect. You have to take them from downtime to uptime. It's impossible for human beings to pay attention to everything that's going around them. We are all bombarded day by thousands upon thousands of messages. So your message needs to interrupt their thought patterns so that they are now paying attention to you and what you want to say. This is normally achieved with your headline that highlights a specific problem that your prospects are looking for a solution to. So now we've interrupted our prospect, the next element of your message is to engage with your prospect. You must promise them that you offer a solution to the problem that you highlighted in the headline. You must engage with your prospect on an emotional level, because we all know that we make buying decisions on emotion and later justify with logic. Once we've engaged with our prospect, we now need to think about the third element of our marketing message, and that is educate. Once we've interrupted and engaged our prospect, we have to give information that allows them to logically understand how and why we solve the problem they're facing. This is accomplished by giving detailed, quantifiable, specific and revealing information. This is typically done in the body copy of your ad. When we educate, we need to reveal to your prospects the important and relevant information they need to know when making a good decision, and that your business and yours alone provides it to them. The interrupt and engage hit the prospect's emotional hot buttons. The educate is the logic they need to justify picking up the phone and calling you. The fourth and final component of our marketing message is your offer. Now that we've interrupted your prospect based on the problems that are important to them, engage them with a promise of a solution, and they've examined the educational information that makes your solution real and believable, the last step we need to take is to give them a low-risk way of taking the next step in your sales process. We can do this by providing a free marketing tool such as a report, brochure, seminar, audio, video, or something that will continue to educate them. Your offer will allow your prospect to feel in control of their final decision to call and buy from you. Here's some other things you might think about when actually crafting your marketing message. It needs to be about them. It needs to highlight a problem they either know they have or don't know they have. It needs to tell them how you solve their problem. You need to think about how you see and they see the issue you solve. You must use their language. So, for example, if you're talking to restaurants, you talk about covers and things like that. You need to think about what do they think about? What are they not expecting to hear? And most important, and finally, one size will never fit all. We're now going to look at the anatomy of a great marketing message. I've picked one here from an accountant. Even accountants still have to interrupt. In this case, we're using a great headline. How can we plan our business strategy when we're surprised by our own accountant? We then have to engage. We have to further engage them emotionally, hit their emotional hot buttons. And in this case, we're using the subheading, how to avoid getting blindsided by a huge tax liability. We then need to educate them that we are the ones who can solve their problems. So the lack of strategic planning is probably costing you money, and how to avoid unpleasant surprises from the IRS. Finally, we need to make them an offer. And in this case, we're going to make them an offer to see the methodology we've used since 1932 to help our clients grow their business and protect their assets through proper tax preparation and planning and other assets. It's basically asking them to go to the website. The final interesting thing about this ad is actually the social proof. Here's what a couple of our clients had to say. They are like our business partner. They open your eyes to more strategies, all about reinforcing the marketing message. The third of our 4W's is where. Where are your prospects going to see or hear your message? Unfortunately, this is the place where most business owners start, and it's the wrong place to start because you need to know who you want to speak to and what you're going to say to them before you even think about where. So think on this. Does that chief executive officer you're looking to attract really read the local newspaper or even their emails? One of the mistakes I constantly see lots of business owners making is they're trying to get customers as cheaply as possible. And they think that using email marketing is the great way to do. But think on this. If you're going to send, say, 1,000 emails to a cold list, your open rate on that cold list will be probably less than 1%. So out of the 1,000 emails you've sent, only 10 people will open them emails. Have a think on this though. If you were to send those same 1,000 people letters, and particularly letters look like birthday cards, hey, who doesn't open a birthday card? A birthday card is always opened. So your open rate now would be probably somewhere in the region of 90% versus 1%. And if your offer is right, people are going to take action. Whereas on the email, it's not likely to happen. So where can you be where your prospects will find you? Are your prospects at networking meetings? Are your prospects at the golf club? Are they online? Are they on LinkedIn groups or are they in Facebook groups? What do they read? Do they read the local trade journal, for example? What interests them? What won't they have seen before so that you can engage with them? Where, and most importantly, are none of your competitors? Because if your target audience, i.e. your who, are there, but none of your competitors are there, then that gives you a clear space to get your message across without anybody clouding the issue. Let's next talk about a great example of using both your who and where to fantastic effect. When Innocent Smoothies were first starting out, they really needed to get in front of just a few people. These were the buyers of the major supermarket chains, Asda's, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Waitrose. But the problem was they didn't have a massive amount of cash to fund a huge campaign. So what they did was very, very smart indeed. They first identified the specific who or the specific people they needed to talk to. They then looked at the route that these people took to work, and using billboard ads on just these routes, they could appear to be much, much larger than they were. These specific people were targeted with billboards ads along their routes to and from the office. Of course, what happened when the guys from Innocent Smoothies called, they got in to see their prospect because they thought that these guys must be massive and they didn't want to take a risk on missing out on the next big thing. Okay, so up to now, we've talked about the three marketing elements that make up what Dan Kennedy calls the marketing results triangle: the who, what, and where of your marketing. We're now going to talk about the fourth W, the why in your business. So your why exists on two levels. The first why is why do you do what you do? And we'll cover this in a little while in a lot more detail. And on the second level, why should people care about what you do? So let's now have a look at about why you do what you do. And I'm going to use a concept from a book by Simon Sinek called Starting with Why. And Simon talks about the golden circle. The outer circle, what every single business on the planet knows what they do. Everyone is easily able to describe the products or services they sell. Let's be honest, if they can't describe what they sell or do, then they won't be in business very long. The middle circle, how. Lots of companies know how they do what they do, how they make themselves different to others doing the same thing, selling the same products or service. We generally refer to this as a USP. But very, very, very few companies know the why of their business. The innermost circle is the why. Why do you do what you do? What's your purpose, cause, or belief? Why does your company exist? So, for example, Apple have a why for their business which people buy into. Even back in the early days, Apple were all about challenging the status quo. Their 1984 ad for the introduction of the Mac computer was all about challenging the dominance of the IBM PC and introducing a revolutionary new concept of the graphical user interface. Apple did not stop there. They have continued to nurture this why in their business and communicate this to those that this why appeals to. Another great example of Apple's why was the introduction of the iPod in 2001, which, along with iTunes, has completely revolutionized the music industry. Up until that time, music was all about buying albums. Once the iPod came along with iTunes, it's all about buying songs. The interesting thing was, of course, that there were digital music devices and services before iPod and iTunes, but Apple explained why the public would want one with a simple slogan: 1,000 songs in your pocket. Apple's why is to continually disrupt the status quo through technology, as they have done in the mobile phone industry with the iPhone and the mobile computing industry with the iPad. And they have built a massive following that completely buy into that why and will buy the next thing that Apple produce. Not only will they buy the next thing that Apple produce, but they will queue up for days beforehand, just like we've seen recently with the iWatch, just to be able to say that they have one of the first ones that become available. But Apple are not the only ones to have a very strong why. Another company with a fantastic why is Tom's. Tom's, an online shoe store, will give an impoverished child a pair of shoes every time someone purchases shoes from them with their 1-for-1 program. But they don't stop there. They will also help restore the eyesight for people in the developing world every time someone buys eyewear from them. Both Apple and Tom's have a fantastic why. But even the smallest company can have a strong sense of purpose for their business, whether it be building a massive fan base like Apple or giving back to the community, such as Tom's. The key is finding that purpose, or why, and communicating it. The second question you really must be able to answer is, why should your prospective client or customer spend their money with you rather than anything else they could do with it? And that means anything else. So, for example, If you sell cars, people may choose to go on holiday with the money they have rather than purchase the car. It's not always a necessary like for like purchase. The important point is that you must give people a reason to purchase from you. And as we stated earlier, people will buy why you do something before they consider what you do and how you do it. As a last point on your why, when we ask the majority of businesses what their why is, the response we typically get is, do business with us because we're pretty much the same as our competition, but we're really good at it. At the end of this video, I have for you a tool that will enable you to create a competition crushing why. So keep watching and listening, and we'll tell you how to get that later. Here's a quick summary of the 4W's. Who are you going to talk to? Who do you want to actually sell to? You get to choose. What are you going to tell them? What are you going to say to them that will make them hold their hands up and say, I want some of that, please? Where are they going to hear your message? And finally, the why in your business. Why do you do what you do? Why should your customer care?